Hello! Okay, so in today's lesson, we're going to be learning about how to name organic compounds with substituent groups, otherwise known as branches. First, let's make sure we all understand what a branch is. So, for example, in the compound that I'm drawing below, we can identify that the substituent group or branch is right here, because it's the only part of the compound that isn't part of the parent chain, which we learned how to identify in the last video. Also, sorry, I'm just gonna cut in here. I messed up the diagram. It should actually be CH2 because there are two spots already taken on the carbon's outer ring, and therefore there should be two more hydrogens to take up all four spots. But I didn't draw it right, so please pretend there's a 2 there. My bad, I'm sorry. So let's get into how exactly we name these compounds. There are really three components to it, except for the last part is pretty simple. It just stays YL no matter what. But the first two is what we have to find out looking at the diagram. So first there's a prefix, which is just going to be a number, and it basically refers to where the branch is found on the parent chain. So if we go look up to our example, and we know that that is the parent chain because it's the longest continuous chain of carbons in the compound. And we start numbering from the side closer to the substituent group or branch. So in this case, we would go from left to right. And the prefix number in this case would be which carbon from the parent chain does the substituent group connect to. In this case, it connects to the second carbon on the parent chain, and therefore our prefix number is going to be 2. Okay, so there's one more blank we have to fill. This is the branch root name. I don't know if it's actually called that. I just call it that. It's basically just what is the root name for the branch that's coming off of the compound. We use the same naming rules as we did for a no branch compound. So the meth, eth, prop, but. I drew a whole table last time. It was a really ugly table. But in the case of this example, we use meth because, as you can see, there's only one carbon in the branch. So therefore, we add it into the blank and we have 2-methyl. However, we do still have to name the parent chain. So this is just the no branch simple compound that we named last time. We can see 4 carbons here, and there's only single bonds in this compound, so it's butane. So we just stick that onto the end of 2-methyl, and now we have 2-methyl butane, and that is the name of that compound. However, what happens if there's more than one branch on a compound? Good question. Glad you asked, because we're going to be getting into that next. So if I change this example into a compound with 2 branches, it'll look like this. Just kidding. I messed up the diagram again. It should actually be just C, no H's, because as you can see, all 4 spots on its outer ring are taken. No need for any more hydrogens. My bad, I'm sorry. Please imagine there's just one C. Anyway, if we're trying to name this, first we need to identify what's the parent chain and what's the branches. As you can see, the longest continuous chain is the 4 in the middle, and those 2 are the branches. So we know that both of these branches are methyl branches because they only have 1 carbon each. So we represent this as 2, 2 methyl to represent how there are 2 methyl branches on the second carbon in the parent chain. And of course, our parent chain is still butane. There's still just 4 carbons, only single bonds. But there is something we have to add when there's more than one branch on the parent chain. And that is a sort of prefix before the methyl. So I'm going to draw another table. Basically, the number of branches corresponds to the prefix that you have to use. So the number of branches on the parent chain in the compound. So if there's only one branch, you don't need a prefix. And usually in grade 12 organic chemistry, there won't be more than 4 branches. So if we go up to our example up here, there are 2 branches, and therefore our prefix is di. So it's 2,2-dimethylbutane. In this example, however, the two branches are the same thing. They're both methyl, and it's a tiny bit different if the two branches are different types of branches. So for example, I'll draw another example. This one is going to have one branch that is ethyl and the other branch that is methyl. So in order to name this, you first find the parent chain, it's the 5 up here, and the two branches. You don't need a prefix for this because they're different. You only need a prefix when you have two of the same type of branch. So to name this, it would be 2-ethyl, 2-methyl. And then the parent chain here is pentane because there's 5 carbons. And if you're naming more than one type of branch, you name the branches in alphabetical order. So for example, in this case, ethyl comes before methyl in the name because E comes before M in the alphabet. You still use 2 as the number because both branches are still on the second compound in the parent chain. And you separate a word with a number using a dash, but if you're trying to separate two numbers, you use a comma like I did up here. So yeah, that's how you name an organic compound with branches. Thanks for watching.